Shit, I forgot the name for
You said 4 words.
It's over. It's all downhill from here.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Four Hauntsmen. It's season 3. We are officially in Barry Windham mode of the Four Hauntsmen. Horsemen, Hauntsmen. If you guys follow WCW, NWA at all, you guys know what I'm talking about. If not, use your computer and Wikipedia. On the mics, we've got Paul.
Hello.
Drew.
Hello, friends.
And new to the chair, Captain Tom. Is that you?
Oh, it is. Hello, friends.
Oh, boy.
that was a little creepy.
You guys are in for a treat.
Yeah, it's been a while. I feel like the last time we talked was like...
January.
Oh, was it? We talked in January? What did we talk about?
Christmas haunts, I think.
That's right. Oh, so it hasn't been that long. There was less of a break between seasons 2 and 3 than seasons 1 and 2.
Well, seven months.
Yeah.
So, what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
You're going to subscribe
everybody else,
and listen.
Everybody else has covered the HHN gamut from head to toe, but we're here today to tell you probably nothing new. But
we're here to tell you our terrible opinions on these things.
It is true. So it is August 15th when we're recording this. All of the houses, all of the scare zones, all of the shows, all of the everything except for the drinks and snacks and merchandise have been announced for Universal Orlando's Halloween Horror Nights.
Well,
what, are we missing something still?
I mean,
I don't know.
There's so from what it sounds like, there is something, but it's not like something that's going to be on the map. You know, like little shows kind of scattered throughout zones, maybe. You know, but
True.
The drinks are the most important part anyway, so we just need to know what they're going to shove in those shitty-ass square cups.
Square cups.
With those straws. The straws are worthless, are they not? I mean...
They are very stupid.
It's just dumb.
You can never get equal amounts of liquid in both sides.
Well, because the straws are, like, uneven. So, like, if one straw ends, like, halfway into the other drink, it's worse. It's the worst.
And
we'll all buy it.
There's absolutely no practical use for those things after Halloween Horror Nights.
So, no food, no merch has been announced. No drinks yet, right? None of that stuff. I'm assuming we'll get, like, the same Eggo type stuff we got last year.
Yeah, we could get some plastic bricks. Might be as tasty.
I liked that Eggo Sunday thing.
Oh boy!
Oh, that was good.
Oh no, the Sunday thing. I did have that. That was a lot. I can't eat that much.
I did not partake.
It was yummy.
Yeah.
But other than that, we got a bunch of
merchandise. I would expect Ghostbusters Overload, and we know pictures were out on the social media today for the Ghostbusters lanyard. Looks amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see it. Let me go look.
If you go to my page, Tom, I remember I retweeted it.
Yeah, I don't follow you anyway, so.
Blocked.
It's fair.
So sooner than doing a most hyped list, I guess we'd go through the houses. I'll start at the top, but these were just basically copied over from the Universal page. Stranger Things is back, seasons 2 and 3.
Hooray!
Yay.
You know.
Oh.
So I was excited when they first announced it, but now I'm like I feel like I'm over Stranger Things. Like, I've seen season 2 and I've seen all the seasons. I was excited when season 3 came out. Saw it that first weekend. Super excited when they announced the house. And I'm a fan of the show. And don't get me wrong, I'm still excited for the house. But I feel like, all right, I'm over Stranger Things. Like, it's overplayed now. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Yeah, I think it is just you, but, you know, I digress.
There's one more season left in the show, I think they said, too, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
See, I thought they originally were going to stop it after 3.
I still haven't seen beyond the 3rd episode in season 2, and everyone's like, "Oh, you got to see season 3," and I'm saying, like, you know, don't you have to see 2 before you see 3?
I don't remember much of season 2, honestly. I think I kind of just like zombied my way through it. I didn't really care that much, but I did really like the new season of it.
Did or didn't?
I did.
Yeah, I did too. I like season 3 more than I like season 2.
And it's funny because it had the least amount of like Demogorgon type stuff in it. You know, like it was just mainly the characters and like the comedy aspect of it. But it was pretty good. So like when I was watching it, it's like you can tell why they're going with season 2 and 3 together and not like all season 3, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like one of those things where I've actually gotten into the show more, but I'm not super excited for the house for whatever reason. Like it'll be good, but I'm not really kind of, you know, it's whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's more the same, right? I mean, the creatures all kind of look alike.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I was reading online today that it supposedly has one of the biggest monsters ever created for you know, an HHN house. Which, if you've seen season 3, it's
you know what
the mind. Yeah, exactly. I think it'll be a pretty impressive house. You know, set design and all that stuff. Of course, you know, everyone's gonna love because they'll have the Starcourt Mall and all that kind of stuff. So, and I think the entrance is going to be near that Arcade scare zone. I know I'm jumping ahead, but we'll come back to it. So it's kind of going to be like all 80s as soon as you enter the park.
Oh, you know what? That's kind of cool.
I didn't think so.
Isn't it near there?
Is that true?
What? No, the entrance that was Stranger Things last year, the giant courtyard, is going to be Ghostbusters this year, which still rolls with it.
Yeah.
If we look at that speculation map, judging on the locations and stuff, I do think one of the only things that map has wrong is that the Stranger Things entrance, I'm almost positive, is going to be one of the ones that's by the New York Library and not the one through Jimmy Fallon.
Yes. So that's actually closer to Zombieland than the 80s scare zone.
Yeah, so Stranger Things is actually going to be in the building that was Poltergeist last year, from what I understand.
Okay.
Oh, so not Yeti in that building?
No, Yeti is in the one that like the one building that shares 2 houses.
Okay.
That's going to be Yeti and us, from what I understand. So, little discrepancy. Or at least that's what I've been told. So, I don't know. We'll see.
So, how about you, Kyle? What are you feeling about Stranger Things, other than the fact that you haven't seen the last 2 seasons? I guess that's your answer, right?
You know, I can say, like, Mary's hounding me to watch it, and I told her to watch it on her own. So I'm not one for powering through TV shows on things. Like, everybody's always asking, like, what to watch, and if it's not usually, you know, like lightning, magic, football, or baseball, then, you know, it's probably not being watched. So.
On TV Land.
Yeah, I will. I watch that. I'll watch it like 5 times a day, like every time slot that it's in that I can find it. But
the only thing I binge is View from the Cheap Seats vlogs.
Well, you know, that's you know, if you watch it 1,000 times, I might make a nickel.
Yeah, he'll make that $1 if you sit all the way through the video.
Yeah. I might be able to get a Jack's Taco. Stranger Things. The house was beautiful last year.
It was.
I mean, I like the house. It was, you know, I don't want to get too much into the it's scary versus not scary thing. I mean, it's not scary, but you know, it's a pleasure to go through. They do a really good job with set design. The actors are doing their role. It feels like you're in a TV show. That's kind of what the purpose of Universal Studios has always been to begin with, right? Or the intent. So
yeah. I mean, in the end, let's be honest, and don't get me wrong, I'm a huge fan of the event, so I know this sounds rather jaded of me, but it's all kind of the same premise anyway, right? Like, it's just different skins on the same basic boo holes and sound effects and stuff like that. So, you know, I think what sets houses apart, or what makes a house scary, isn't so much the theme of it as it is the actors and, you know, the work that goes into it. Because no one thought Poltergeist was going to be scary, and I thought that house was pretty scary.
Yeah, that house rocked.
I love that house.
That was great.
Mm-hmm.
So, moving on from Stranger Things, we'll talk about Us. Us was actually a replacement house. For those that are not in the know, there was originally another house planned that was, I think, I believe, an original IP, and they've transformed it into Us. Kind of, I don't know why. Maybe it was test marketing or whatever, or maybe they got the license. But Us is there. What can I say without being overtly negative?
I feel be honest about it. Like, I'm actually excited for Us. I loved the first half of the movie, but the second half of the movie just kind of lost me. Not like confused me, like lost me, like it sucked. But the house, I don't know. Like, I think it has the potential to be good. There's, thinking about the movie, there's enough scenes in it that I remember, like the funhouse scene and like the home invasion and then like the underground world. Like, I think those all translate well to a haunted house.
I can only say, like, right away, how many times are you going to hear when you go to the house? What does he say? You want to get crazy? Or something like that? I'm probably saying the wrong word, but you're going to hear that soundbite over and over and over again, right? But my thing about Us is that the movie works because it's mirror images of the characters. You're not, if you're going through that house to experience it, how are you being scared by the mirror images or watching that story unfold? Except for like 50 people in jumpsuits with scissors jumping out at you?
Well, I mean, I'll be honest, I haven't seen the movie yet, so I'd like to thank you guys for ruining, the premise and the scenes and like what they say. Thanks, I appreciate that. So
we could tell you every detail about that movie, dude, and you're still.
I honestly, what happened? I want to see it. I mean, I definitely want to see it before I go to the event. But it's for some reason there's a mixed bag out there of some people love it, some people hate it. But I mean, that's pretty much with anything, isn't it?
Yeah, Ghostbusters.
and to be fair, if you go to like the Universal blog and you read the post that they put up about the movie coming to Halloween Horror Nights, they literally spoil the entire movie in the post. They tell you everything that happens in the movie is in the blog post that they put out, which is
you're kidding.
Yeah, and literally like every twist in the movie is in that post. So
yeah. And as far as people it's a bunch of people in jumpsuits, with scissors and stuff, but isn't that the same as any escaped lunatic asylum house, like Psychoscarapy or anything like that?
Yeah, even Halloween last year, I mean,
that's true.
It's one of those houses that I think is going to be fine. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to do anything groundbreaking. It's not going to be completely terrible. It's just going to be towards the bottom of everyone's list, I feel like, especially when we factor in, like Kyle said, that it was kind of thrown together last minute replacement sort of thing. Right. I'm not expecting much from it. I thought the movie was fine. I don't really need to watch it ever again, kind of thing. The music in it is great. That's the one thing that I think will translate well to the entire event is the soundtrack of it's really good. But outside of that, I think for me, I probably have it as like number 9 or 10 on my list of like what I would be looking forward to this year.
Yeah, as far as replacement houses, it could be worse. Could be Purge.
Oh my God, that was horrible.
You know what? You have just made a fantastic point and changed my mind entirely.
So, next up, Universal Monsters, classic monsters, coming back to Halloween Horror Nights. We've seen them before. We've seen them again. There's no Slash soundtrack this time around.
Or is there?
I would love if it was. But, how can you go wrong with classic monsters?
Well,
they're amazing.
So here's my question, right? Is this going to be where Seeds of Extinction was last year?
Yes. Yeah, it is.
I don't know. It's not first of all, it's really far. Like, I remember wanting to go to Seeds of Extinction more than once, and I'm like, but that's really far. Like, I don't want to walk all the way back there and all the way back just for Seeds of Extinction. That's my only qualm about it. Like, don't get me wrong, super excited about Universal Monsters. I love them. They belong in Horror Nights, in Universal Parks, wherever. I actually like Seeds of Extinction. I know that's weird, but I don't love that building, and I don't love how freaking far it is.
Man, you kind of just bummed me out right there, Paul, because that's kind of so. I'm like at the top of my list are all original houses, okay? Because I have complete faith that they're going to knock them out of the park. I love the original houses and everything like that. But the top of my IP list was Universal Monsters, but I didn't realize it was that freaking house. So that was what was that? The old Ash and Evil Dead house, right?
No, Ash vs. Evil Dead was the parade
it's
building.
the one next to it.
Yeah.
Oh, still.
It's the one that's even further out.
Yeah.
Good God. Hopefully they got wheelchairs for us old people. And can wheel my fat ass back up.
I remember walking back from that house last year with you, Tom, and it was like,
Oh my God. I think I wanted to jump on your back halfway through it. Good Lord. I mean, they need to take that in mind that some of us super fans, man, we're not in the best shape ever. I mean, we're at home on the computer a lot, so I mean, geez.
Maybe they, like the phenomenon with like all the Lime scooters, like the rentable scooters, they should put them out horror nights so you can just get back to the houses.
And you know what? This is what the Four Hauntsmen bring that's unique to your Halloween Horror Nights podcast. We're all old and out of shape and not well, but that's a lot of walking.
You're gonna have to hit that one early. You got to get out of the way early so that you don't wear yourself out.
Yeah.
You save those ones like Killer Clowns that's inside of Shrek and stuff for the end where there's like minimal walking involved.
Yeah, when you're
that and House of 1,000 Corpses and all that stuff. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
Otherwise, content-wise,
fired up.
Yeah, I'm really hyped up about that house.
Yeah, yes. That one. Yeah. This is one of the ones that tickles my pickle. I'm very excited for this one.
Oh boy!
Oh my God!
That conversation went differently than I expected.
See, Paul, I just stopped myself right there. I self-edited.
Look at you making my editing job a little easier. I appreciate that.
I'm embarrassed to say, the first thing that popped in my mind was that giant pickle from the stupid Hard Rock hamburger eating contest. I remember getting that in front of me. I'm like, oh my God, I got to eat that thing.
Oh, for God's sake.
Oh my God.
Well, hopefully they do a lot with it, considering all they're trying to do with those Universal monsters in the parks and the rumored, inclusion of them in Epic Universe. So hopefully they do a good job and people are excited about it. Yeah. I'll see it once, at least. And if it's really good, we'll see if I make that track again.
And then the next night you'll bring one of those Camelback backpacks with the water,
exactly,
the straws in it, and hike your way back for a second time.
Do you remember opening night last year? That house, it was such a cluster. Getting to it and getting out of it. That's the house, right?
The traffic flow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. Oh my Lord, that was.
See, I didn't go opening weekend last year, but I remember you guys talking about it.
Oh, yeah.
They did eventually fix that, but still.
Yeah, they did.
So I think we're all psyched on that one.
Yep. So next after that is Ghostbusters.
Yes.
Busting some ghosts.
Yeah.
It makes me feel good.
I think Ghostbusters is going to be great.
It's the most recent movie of Ghostbusters that it's based off of.
It's not based on the original with the monkey and the two guys in the talking car, no?
No, not that.
The original Ghostbusters. Do you remember that when they had the New York style feud? They had the real Ghostbusters and the original Ghostbusters.
Yeah. They had the lawsuit.
Yeah. But no, this is based on the real Ghostbusters.
Yay.
The cartoon?
Right? Yes.
Stop, you effing millennial.
That's literally, the name of it is literally the real Ghostbusters.
Yeah, that's why it was called that, because there was another cartoon called the original Ghostbusters.
But not the original.
The original.
Everybody keeps talking with this house, the big hoopla is what? Oh, it's not going to be scary. Well, here. First of all, are they all, as Kyle would say, your mileage is going to vary on any of these houses if they're scary to you or not, first of all. Second of all, for me, these houses are just kind of a catalyst to having a good time with your buddies. And the next thing to being scared is laughing. And half the time when you're going through these houses, you're just laughing your ass off because, somebody gets, got or whatever it might be. So, it might be scary to some people, it might not be, but who cares? It's going to be a blast, and it's going to be awesome to see this stuff.
What's next to laughing, Tom? If it's scare, laugh.
Scaring, laughing, and then tickling Drew's pickle.
Oh boy!
Don't worry, Drew. That won't be the show title.
Tickle my pickle. Shirts.
I think it'll be awesome. I wish, and I haven't heard, but it would be great if they incorporated the firehouse in the library somehow.
Yeah. I would imagine. What you mean, like the one out in the streets of the park?
Yeah.
So this one is going to enter inside of that giant herd.
On the Hollywood Bowl.
Yeah,
it's going to be where the Music Plaza stage is. Mm-hmm. So sadly, it's not going to be near any of that stuff. However, I cannot imagine a world in which you enter that house and the facade is not the firehouse. There's just no way.
I mean, they gotta at least put the freaking Ghostbuster sign on the firehouse out in the park just for theming.
I'm with Paul on this one. Absolutely.
Hopefully.
Maria said the same thing, but I don't see.
I don't think they will, especially since Zombieland is going to be taking that whole area over there.
Yeah,
That's technically like that firehouse is more or less like beyond where the queues begin for those other houses. So it might make kind of a people trying to take photos with it and stuff. It might be kind of hard,
I don't care, Drew. I still want him to do it.
Hey, I'm just looking at it from a logic standpoint. Okay,
you just Photoshop it in.
Get out of here with your logic and your realistic expectations.
The thing that I am most curious to see about this house more than anything is the execution of the Stay Puft Marshmallow.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard good things.
I think, like in my head, I'm thinking the logical thing would be that it would be similar to Kong.
That's what I was thinking too.
Kind of going to be him from the shoulders up, maybe like how in Poltergeist they had those giant skull head things and stuff. Yep. So like it can be done, but I just don't think it's going to be like full scale from feet to head. I don't think anyone's really expecting that. But it should be fun, and I just hope that you get to see him like more than one time. Maybe like twice, But
maybe with some screens, they could do screens in windows, like you can see him walking by in windows or something.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah, that dude's got to be the finale.
Yeah.
He's got to be the finale.
It's going to be Vigo.
He's on.
Oh my God.
He's on like the key art for the house, so there's no he's not involved. So
yeah,
I have heard similar things to what you were saying, Drew, as well as the use of smells in that house also to go along with the Marshmallow Man. So
I did see that one thing someone posted today, which is really cool, is that apparently people who worked on the original Spooktacular show that was in the park were involved in creating this house as well. So it's kind of like a love letter for the people that used to work on that show, which is
that was me.
That's cool. Well, what just occurred to me? This is kind of sad. It literally just occurred to me the relevance of the s'mores fries. I'm like, oh, marshmallows. Yeah, okay, that makes sense now. I get it. I get it.
I just hope they have an ecto cooler mixed drink or
s'mores fries.
Yeah, they're gonna have s'mores fries this year, my man.
Oh my Lord, good gravy.
They're sweet potato fries.
Sweet potato fries. Yep.
Oh my goodness.
We tried them.
I can feel myself getting fatter right now.
What's next, Kyle?
Killer Clowns.
What's next, Kyle?
They've gone from a street to a house, and my take, much to I think probably everybody else's chagrin, is I liked the street last year. It was a fun street. It was fun because I think the clowns were so limited that they ended up becoming like the party zone or hangout zone where they were playing musical instruments like air guitar and stuff, and they can't really function or move too well in those costumes. So I'm not sure how you do that in a house.
That is true.
You make the victims. Those are the victims are going to be the scares, and in the end, it's all sound effects anyway. Really, I say this, and everyone's like, "How can you say this?" I don't like that movie. I loved the Scare Zone last year. I thought it was a lot of fun. I did. but I just don't love the movie. So I got to say, this is, I would say if on the houses, this is 10 out of 10 for me.
Is it?
Yeah, out of the 10 houses, this is definitely bottom of the list as far as my hype meter.
I'm staying at Cabana Bay now. What do you think, Tom?
I'm a huge fan of the Killer Clowns, whether it be the movie, the Scare Zone, whatever it might be. I think the movie was perfectly horrible, excellently horrible. It's designed to be ridiculous, and they achieved it in spades. So the Scare Zone last year was fantastic. Yes, those suits are incredibly large and bulky, and they're not going to be jumping and running at you or anything like that. But you know what? They weren't doing that in the Scare Zone either, and everybody loved it. So Paul's right. So the scares are going to be different than just them jumping out of boo holes and things like that. But I'm interested to see the house because we'll get a better chance of seeing some of the scenery, like the inside of the big top, and things like that. So I'm fired up about the house. I would say that as far as IPs go, this is probably second on my list for probably right behind Ghostbusters and Universal Monsters. So probably third on my list.
Do you like the original Killer Clowns or the real Killer Clowns?
What are you talking about?
The ICP?
It was just a bad joke. Ghostbusters. Yeah, ICP mixed in with the Killer Clown.
Now give me an ICP house. I will be there in a heartbeat.
Oh, the Insane Clown. I got you. Yeah, I got that. I had to Google that.
He's down with the clown.
Fago mixed drinks.
Right? It sells itself.
You're hyping up Paul. That was the only way to
I'm like, yes. Now I'm awake. This is how you keep me up past bedtime.
He's fading hard right
now.
I'm somewhere in the middle with Killer Clowns because the Zone was super fun, and I look forward to hopefully kind of that same vibe from it. But I'm also concerned that it's not going to work as well as a house. Whereas Trick or Treat worked perfect as a Scare Zone, and the execution of the house was pretty good, but that lends itself to something of that setting as well. Killer Clowns, it's a little harder. But based on how much it seems like they love that movie too, like the creative team and all that stuff, it's kind of why I have it in the middle somewhere. I'm not super stoked about it, but I don't expect it to suck either. I'm not really sure what to expect from it. So I don't have a negative opinion or an overly positive one either.
All right.
How about you, Kyle?
I already said it. Seems hard to translate. Yeah.
Well, before we move on for the Killer Clowns, just because it popped up in my head in relation to these big costumed characters, that new Banana Splits movie came out this week on digital.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot.
Hell yeah, I'm going to see that.
Yeah, we should have had a house based off of that.
Right?
It's terrifying.
Do you know what we're talking about, Tom? Tom, you watched the Banana Splits when you were a kid, right?
I have no clue what you're talking about. So.
If you see the characters, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, I remember those guys.
Yeah, after the podcast, look up the Banana Splits movie.
I'm going to get my Google machine right now and look it up on the Google.
Yeah, except now it's it went from being a kid show to being a horror movie.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So the last IP house is just announced. I can't remember if it was announced yesterday or today. The days are blending together, but it's
yesterday.
Okay, House of 1,000 Corpses.
Yes.
Not 1,001. Not 999. This is the Rob Zombie movie that's been done before in Hollywood. It's coming to Universal Orlando. It's going to be in the house in the back by Men in Black, which has been the kiss of death for houses, I think, because that's where the Chance house was and the Blumhouse houses were. I'm excited about it. I don't know how to rank the IP houses this year, but I certainly want to see Ghostbusters the most, but this is probably a very close second. I love the movie. I can't wait to see it. I know that some of the folks that are in the house already, and I think that it's perfectly cast in that house. And I just can't wait to go through it, probably multiple times a night. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, I hope it's good because I'm super psyched for it. That's definitely near the top of my list too. I'm a fan of Rob Zombie. I'm a fan of the movie. I think it's good timing with 3 from Hell coming out in mid-September, I think. So yeah, sign me up. I am all on board with House of a Thousand Corpses.
Drew loves the movie. He told me.
This is the only one. And the streak continues of every year of there being at least some movie that I haven't seen yet. I've never seen the movie. I always thought it looked pretty like ridiculous. But like I'm definitely gonna watch it and check it out beforehand. Reading like the description of it, it definitely seems like the idea lends itself to like a haunted maze for a Halloween event. It seems like a great concept. But Rob Zombie is like an amateur director, so like it probably is just executed very poorly. So, I mean,
it's very gritty. It reminds me a lot of Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, that's kind of the vibe I was getting too. Like when I was watching like the trailers and stuff of it, like it's like a love letter to like a 70s horror kind of thing, but in modern times.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we'll see how it plays out. It'll be interesting with the setting it's in. Being in that house in the back over there, it seems like they're kind of, nothing there is ever that great. I did like the first Blumhouse. But last year was pretty rough. Chance was pretty rough.
I like Chance.
I
did. But I think with House of a Thousand Corpses, it's tricky to pull off because that house is always, it's like entirely indoors, right? Like it's like you walk into a building and it's a series of rooms. Like there's not much you can do with it. But House of a Thousand Corpses, when you see the movie, there's quite a bit to it. Obviously, it's not just the house. There's also like the murder museum, and then there's like the tunnels, and there's a lot of outdoor stuff. And I don't know that any of that's really going to translate to the location that they're setting it in, or that they're building the house in. But I'm still excited for it. I see the movie, Drew. I'm curious to hear what you think of it.
Yeah, no, we're probably going to watch it within the next week or two.
They got to have fried chicken too. So
like one of the smells in the house or something.
Well, I mean, for sale, like as far as like on the street. If they don't, then I mean, what are they thinking?
But then just shut it down now. Just skip to it.
Yeah, if it's not there, then I'm not buying a ticket.
Fried chicken.
Tom, your thoughts on House of a Thousand Corpses? Did you sleep?
No, hold on. I'm still trying to Google banana split.
He's still looking up banana splits.
I'm excited about it's going to redeem the Men in Black tent because whatever, Paul, I don't know what the house he went through with Chance. That was bullshit.
I liked that house. I actually like that house. I know I'm one of the few.
Sir. You're getting tired, sir. So the first house with Blumhouse in the Insidious portion, that was really the only redeeming factor of any single house that's ever been in that tent. And Captain Spaulding is going to tear that son of a bitch. He's gonna redeem that location. But I'm excited about it.
I am really excited.
Yes.
I think it's one of the houses that might surprise me.
I think you nailed it too, Drew. I think that it was kind of a love letter. I mean, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that comparison is perfect for that movie because that's exactly what it is. I think you nailed it with that. I think that's a perfect example of what he was going for.
Actually, it would have been perfect if they still had the house where the old Jaws queue was.
Yeah.
Because that's where they had Texas Chainsaw Massacre, when they did the remake house. They've had, and that's where they had Mighty Meats or whatever the hell that was. But like that's a good location for that kind of thing. But the Blum, I'm still on the fence about the location, but I'm psyched about the house.
I think it's going to be a very fun house.
Agreed.
Like the Pink song.
Oh my God!
I don't know who Pink is, but okay.
You Google her next.
I'm still working on the other one.
This is just Tom is just Google is just opening like 4 different tabs on his internet.
I didn't know there was going to be the freaking homework with this.
I know. Put that one in incognito mode.
World.
And then we have the 4 original houses.
4 original.
Oh, yay!
Depths of Fear. You guys can talk about it first.
Oh, I didn't know if you were going to read them all out.
Oh, you want me to?
Yeah.
Depths of Fear, Graveyard Games, Nightingale's Blood Pit, and Yeti, Terra of the Yukon Potato.
Yes, to all.
Graveyard Games is leading the top of the list for me for the original houses.
Yeah, I agree.
They're doing this gimmick with like Facebook Messenger that you could talk to somebody while you're in the queue, and like
What?
Yeah, that will be forgotten about or phased out by week 2 for sure.
Yeah, I was definitely thinking it's like another of Mice and Men scenario with the best laid intentions here, but it seems like somebody's fun idea to do, and then people are just not going to respond or want to do it. But that house seems to appeal the most to me, I think, with the use of classic ghosts or graveyards and mausoleums and
Yeah, I've
genuinely scary
I've
stuff.
heard good things about this house. Apparently just don't sleep on it. It seems like it was just kind of one of those ones in the announcement season that was just like, hey, here it is, so there's been not really much build up to it, but apparently it is going to be real good.
I heard the same thing, Drew. Don't sleep on this one. It's going to be excellent.
Honestly,
Yeah,
I'm excited
Paul,
for all
don't
of them.
sleep on it.
I'm going to sleep on it right now. I'm excited for all of the original houses. I think Yeti, depending on how they do it, but they'll probably make it cold and they'll probably have, snow effects and all that. I think that'll be cool. Out of all of them, I think the one that I'm excited for all of them, but out of the 4, I would put it probably Graveyard Games, Yeti, Nightingale, and Depths of Fear as the bottom of the 4 for me. But I'm looking forward to all of them. They always do great stuff with the original stuff.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm most excited for Yeti. I just think it's just like a cool, crazy, like out there kind of thing. Nightingales, the premise of it being like gladiator is awesome. Something completely unique and different. Graveyard Games is just going to be like that classic. Like if I don't know if you guys were going back then. I know Tom wasn't, but Paul and Kyle maybe. It must have been like Horror Nights 20. They did the house called The Legendary Truth.
That was 20.
It was like that haunted like house vibe where it was just like a ghost house. And I remember they had that one incredible effect where one of the floors was partially like clear. And there was literally somebody that was on like kind of like a mechanics thing on the ground below you.
Yeah.
And they were in like that glowy, crazy, flowy suit. And like you'd be walking over one of the scare actors who was literally below you in the floor.
Yeah. And they had like moving furniture in the house and stuff.
Yeah. There was a chair that was a person. It was a costume of like an old school, like fluffy chair. And it would like get up and run at you. Like there was crazy stuff in that house. And they haven't really touched on basic paranormal type stuff as an original property in a long time. So I can only imagine like with the new things that they've learned over the past couple of years, kind of utilizing that in that type of house. And the fact that the setting is outdoors is just like, I think it was maybe the year after they had the house that was called Winter's Night, which was an outdoor cemetery.
Yep.
In the winter, so it was like cold and like just like such a cool vibe to it. So I think this house, I mean, based on their past work and the fact that they haven't done it in so long, and there's probably so much new stuff they can do, it's got me really jazzed up. And as for Depths, I mean, I have it at the bottom of my original houses, but I could see it very much surprising me. So, I just think the other one, everything else is just like so good that I have it towards the bottom.
I do too. I'm just wondering if they're going to reuse like we've seen so many like water type costumes over the last few years.
Yeah, like the fishman looking thing.
Yeah.
They haven't really given much out on any of these, right? They've it's just some it's just like a single like poster of each one of them and like a paragraph description. So, it's all imagination at this point.
It could just be those roller skating fish from the SpongeBob portion of the Superstar Parade.
That I would actually be excited about.
I'm thinking, like, do you remember last year in the Scary Tales, there was like the Little Mermaid part or whatever?
Yeah.
I'm just picturing like those dudes everywhere. Like,
what's the over-under on how many times like bad jokes or comments are made about the Yeti being at Halloween Horror Nights versus working at Everest in Animal Kingdom?
Yeah.
We're gonna make the Yeti dance this year, just like the Disco Yeti.
So, a couple last things. We've got a couple shows that have been announced, and these are the main shows, or one main show and one secondary show, not including the stuff that's speculated about the streets, as if you couldn't see the construction happening already. But Academy of Villains is back again.
Man.
And I'm going to say they're on the Bill and Ted stage instead of the Fear Factor stage or whatever in the back.
They are.
It's a show called Altered States. To me, Academy of Villains was at their best their first year when I think it was raw and on the street and people didn't know what was going on and then how they worked. The second year when they had their stage damaged and they performed, on the corner again. Last year's show, I think, was beautiful to look at. The set was excellent. We put Paul in the seat where you get called up on the little mini stage to dance.
And I got yelled at. He's like, "Wake up!" I'm like, "What?"
The best solution for him was try to ignore the people as they're looking to bring him on stage.
Yeah,
but
I'm like,
I think it lost its luster last year, the show, and I'm not looking forward to seeing it on another big scale again.
I agree. I think it worked better when it was in the streets and the smaller venue. Just I think that troupe works better in that environment. The last year's show was just too polished. It was boring. I saw it once. I had no desire to see it again. Like, as soon as I left it, I'm like, I'm good. I never need to see that again.
You were just afraid of getting called up on stage again.
God, you have no freaking clue. I was terrified. That was the most terrifying thing of Halloween Horror Nights 28. Will Paul have to dance? Because then they brought up this person who was like an expert dancer. Like, I would have been up there doing like the robot or something. And this person they brought up was like twerking and like break dancing. I'm like, oh geez.
You could have twerked, Paul. Come on.
It would have gone horribly awry.
I think that show is, for me, because there's 10 houses now. There's a lot going on. Even if you have Express, it's hard to hit every house. But I'd rather see every house and just skip that show. And I know that people are going, stupid. I don't really care. But that's kind of that show to me. I like it there because it burns, like, get some people out of the way. You know what I mean? Just don't be near there when they release the show, because then it turns into a traffic nightmare. But I don't really care about that show at all. I am excited about the water show, though.
I am too, and I haven't seen the actual water show. Like, you guys who live down there or go to the park a little bit more often, I've never seen like the regular fountain show or garden show or whatever it's called. But well, I'm looking at Kyle's notes, and he screwed me up with his. But I've never seen the original one, so I'm looking forward to this. I think this one, they used to do shows in that lagoon during Halloween Horror Nights, or at least projections on like the giant like ball things they have floating in there. So this will be cool. I'm like, I do want to see this one.
Drew wants to see it.
The water show is going to be. It's one. Okay, so it really depends on how big of a scale we're doing this, right? So, First of all, it's a cool offering because it doesn't take up anything, right? It's not like it's replacing anything. It's just something brand new to the event. It's going to eat up some people for some time. It's going to add to the overall atmosphere of the event, I think, which is awesome. I'm just kind of like, So if you guys have ever gone, and I know Kyle has seen the regular cinematic show, I do know that like, so when the show is going on, they do close that street right behind it. So where Killer Clowns was last year.
Okay. I was wondering if there was designated places.
I don't know if that's going to happen during HHN, because the thing is I don't think they're going to use pyrotechnics like they do during the day. Right, especially like if they're doing a show at like midnight and things like that. Just general, like I think it's one of those things that's going to be cool, but I feel like general guests might be disappointed when it's just clips on the water. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's to see it once.
For us, like when you're just walking by, it's cool atmosphere to the event. But if you're making time out of the potential of like, should we go do the graveyard house or should we watch the show? Like, oh, let's watch the show. I can see why people might be disappointed in something like that. But it's one of those offerings that you just can't hurt to have. But I think the best thing about it was the people on Twitter who literally thought that it was going to be Jason.
Yeah.
That was without question the stupidest thing that I have ever read in my entire life, to the point where someone on Twitter said, well, because the cyber image store is open during Halloween Horror Nights, there must be a reason why it's going to be, so the Jason Bourne show lets out into it. Or maybe it's because it's a classic monster store now, which is literally part of the event. Ghostbusters and classic monsters makes up like 78% of that store.
Wow. Yeah.
So boggles my mind.
Which reminds me, Kyle, did we miss one of the houses when we were talking about them? Is there not going to be Stephen King's It at Halloween Horror Nights this year?
Yeah, only that's for the extended location on the street corner.
Yeah, exactly.
Hollywood Boulevard.
That's over at Islands of Adventure. You got to take the train over, and it's a haunted train too.
Yeah.
But you know what? We did forget stuff because I want to say I zoned out. Perfect segue in here, but we forgot to talk about the scare zones. The first, I guess, the big headliner scare zone for this year is Zombieland. Double tap that ass.
Oh boy. That's talking about sex stuff you're talking about.
God, you Tom's on one podcast and Kyle goes off the rails.
It's the Zombieland tickle pickle scare zone.
So, I'm tentatively excited. I really loved Zombieland when it came out. And I saw Zombieland in a movie theater, I think 3 times. Like, I genuinely enjoyed the movie, and I watched it a bunch at home. They have the sequel coming out, and the sequel, you watch the trailer, and I was like, I don't know if my love for the movie kind of went away, but I'm like, it doesn't hold the same feeling that it did when the original was out, and now you're doing a zone based off of the original movie that was out, I think it's exactly 10 years ago.
10 years, yep.
And, when everybody was talking, because when I went to the park the other day, I shot a video and took pictures, and I was like, oh, look at this structure. And, one of our friends of the podcast and channel does stage construction and was looking at it and was like, oh, this is really sturdy and everything. And somebody from Universal's talking to us about it. Like, oh yeah, you can't wait for you to see what it's going to be all about. And afterwards, everybody's like, oh, that's going to be the drop tower. I literally couldn't even remember the scene. So everybody's talking about it like it was the greatest cinematic moment in history.
That's where the girls got stuck on the drop tower.
I had to go back and YouTube it. And I've watched that movie 20 times. So I do understand that there's supposed to be a big stunt show in that area, and a mini show that goes on and stuff like that. And I'm sure I'll love it.
Yeah.
As long as they're not playing AC/DC every 5 minutes.
So the funny thing about that ride, Kyle, is I don't know if you guys know this, but at the Motion Gate Park in Dubai, the only reason why I remember that segment of the movie is that the Motion Gate Park in Dubai literally has a generic tower ride similar to Doctor Doom and stuff, but it's just called Zombieland the ride because it's the thing that's in the movie. It's literally the white tower with the red and yellow piping in it, and it just says it's just the entrance is Zombieland, and it's got like it's just like minimal theming, but it's a Zombieland ride. But
yeah, and just a fun fact. I know we may talk about this in a very short bit later, but part of Zombieland was filmed at Netherworld in Georgia.
Oh yeah. I'm excited about the Scare Zone. I think it's going to be awesome. I love the movie. I think for New York, it's basically a zombie scare zone with some fun references to the carnival scene from the movie. Probably some actors. I think it could lend itself to some fun scenes, some street interactions. Zombies is, in New York, because that area is so large, you kind of need something that's going to fill that space. And so I think Zombieland's going to be good. I think it's funny, like they're building like a fake drop tower instead of just like getting one of those traveling carnivals to just put one there. But and then you could just have an extra ride.
But I think that it's going to be used, that prop.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I think it's going to be great. I'm excited for that one. That's probably at the top of my list for the scare zones, along with the Anarcade one.
Yeah. So the only last thing about the Zombieland thing, that it's just kind of funny, ironic funny, but people complain for so many years about zombies with The Walking Dead, and God, we can't wait to get rid of them. I love the whole zombie thing and zombie culture, but you had like a 2-year reprieve from zombies, and now everybody's cheering for the zombies to come back.
Well, I mean, at least this is like a different take on it in the sense that it's probably going to be a comedy. It's going to be a comedy-based zone with that stuff.
Different context.
I mean, my expectations for this one are kind of like, you know what you're getting yourself into. I don't think it's going to be anything insanely amazing. It's going to be, you'll have some funny characters in it. You'll have the drop tower thing, which will be interesting to see. It's so on that stage, it says zombie kill of the week. So I guess there's going to be some kind of kill show on the stage, whether it involves the drop tower or not, who knows? There's the bakery truck that's parked in there now, which, yeah. I mean, it's got to be something related to the whole Twinkies thing, So there's going to be some stuff, but I think ultimately it's just going to be a pretty bare bones zombie street for the most part. I can't imagine much going on, but and like Kyle was saying, the movie came out 10 years ago, and I loved the movie when I saw it originally as well. I saw the trailer for the new one, and the thing is that like it's been 10 years, so the demand for a sequel for this movie is not there anymore. Maybe like 2 years after it came out, people really would have wanted to see that. It's just a really strange timing for that, and then like to have a scare zone for it, it's just weird to me. I think this actually would have worked better as a house more than a street, personally.
Yeah.
Like this is the type of thing that would have been an ideal like house in like the Shrek queue or something like that, but I'm sure it'll be okay.
Hey, you mentioned... Go ahead,
Paul. Go.
I was going to ask, you mentioned, the street where Killer Clowns was last year.
Yeah.
Is anything in that area this year?
No. So the Rob Zombie scare zone, which everyone had on the, maps and stuff being over there, is in the San Francisco area where the zones used to be.
Yeah.
So that area, from what I gather, is just going to be left empty. Like as far as props and stuff go, because like I was saying, when they do that show, generally the street stays clear because they do projections on those buildings right there. So I could see a situation where there might be like roaming scare actors in between the sets and stuff. Like how Springfield has the clowns. Maybe they'll just have some characters out there just to kind of kill dead space, but it's not going to be anything that's like a set in stone type deal.
Well, that makes sense. Which actually does bring us to the next scare zone with Rob Zombie.
Yes, the Hellbilly.
Because you got music in that zone. But how many times do you think you're going to hear Metallica a night in that zone?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. For Whom the Bell Tolls.
And then, which made me think back again, like with the Ghostbusters, we didn't hear the song in the trailer for that house, right? So I'm wondering if they're going to play the song.
They have to. If they were able to get the rights to that song for the freaking movie with Melissa McCarthy and all that, then the rights must be up for sale for big time.
Well,
so it has to be there.
There's an interesting twist with that song, right? Because Ray Parker Jr. basically was sued by Huey Lewis for ripping off "I Want a New Drug" for use and duplicating it for Ghostbusters. So I wonder if that played into not using the song for the trailer for the house, because there's a whole screwed up thing with the rights for that song.
Yeah, but that whole thing happened before, like, because the Ghostbusters movie was it 2016 or something.
Mm-hmm.
They literally used that song in the movie.
Yeah,
like
but you're talking about a movie versus a theme park.
Well, but the thing is if they play it inside the house, I mean, they're gonna get away with it. Like, yeah. It's one thing if it's not in the ads and stuff like that, but they could play it in. Like, do you really think that they paid AC/DC to play "Shoot to Thrill" in the Scare Zone? I don't really think so.
I think they had to. I
don't think so.
I think anytime that you have music playing in a public area, you got to pay royalties.
I don't know. I mean, like, not necessarily. Like, if you're in a restaurant, right?
Yeah. If you go to like a sporting event, they're not paying AC/DC when they play Thunderstruck at kickoff. That's just not.
Good point.
Yeah, you pay if you don't edit it out of your video.
Yeah.
The Rob Zombie Hillbilly Deluxe. Tom, what do you think?
I was telling Drew I think it was Drew the other day. I vaguely remember maybe one or two of his songs. Vaguely. I mean, I'm just not familiar with the work. So, see, I think Dragula. I think I know that one. I don't know. I'd have to.
The Drooper Beast.
Yes.
I know that there's. What's that one? There's one that we were talking about, Drew. What was the name of the one?
Everybody's fucking in a UFO.
No. I wish that they were playing that song.
Dude,
that was a different album.
If they did, my Twitter name would absolutely be "Everybody's fucking in a Drew FO."
When we went to Rockville, I don't think I marked out as hard for anything else, but when they started playing that song.
I'm excited. Yeah. I was listening to Hellbilly Deluxe today. The entire album is only like 35 minutes long.
I'll listen to it.
But it's probably his best solo album. And I think it's going to be an awesome zone. I'm really looking forward to it. I wonder how many props they made and how many they just, got from him from when he had his whole Haunt event years ago.
I'm exactly like I am with the Us House with this one. I'm not familiar with the stuff, so I mean it's at the bottom of my list at this point until I figure out what's going on.
Maybe next year they'll make a Bee Gees zone and get more at home.
Bee Gees, you hippie.
Well, so now the rumor originally was that the zone was going to be the music and movies of Rob Zombie, or just like just everything kind of thrown into one. So I'm kind of more excited for this because it's like a centralized theme to something. Like they're actually focusing on one thing rather than a mishmash. Mm-hmm. But I mean, the music is fine, and like the music videos, the imagery kind of lends themselves to it. I don't think it's going to be anything that's going to like blow your socks off or anything like that. But it's an okay concept for a zone. Like we were saying before, Rob Zombie, the idea is there. It's just sometimes I just feel like he's just kind of like a hack when it comes to stuff. Like.
Will they have the car from Dragula in the zone?
They've got to. Maybe not the real Dragula.
They'll have it in the Fast and Furious ride exit with all the other cars. Just
there he is. He was just waiting to bring up that stupid ride.
I like that ride.
Oh my god.
Oh boy.
So
in arcade, Tom, you were looking forward to that?
Yeah. I mean, because it's like the 80s stuff, right? It's and I heard that they're going to have like a laser ceiling.
Oh.
Huh? Did you hear that?
Yeah,
so I mean, it just seems like that The cool thing about this is just like the Men in Black tent, where I think that 1,000 Corpses is going to kind of revive that area. This zone right here, what is that called? The Parade of Stars, or what is it?
The Avenue of the Stars, or the Plaza of the Stars.
Plaza of the Stars has always just had garbage in it, and I think that it's going to be a lot of fun. I think this is going to be a fun zone.
I like the zone they had last year.
Yeah,
I think it was last year.
Was good.
Yeah, but this one is like the perfect entry point, right? Because usually the ones in that zone don't like that. You have to be in them to enjoy them. But like this, like you walk through the gates, and if that laser ceiling thing is true, like you'll see that from the outside of the gates, right?
Yeah,
so like you'll have that 80s vibe as soon as you walk in. Yeah, I'm excited for it.
Yep, I think it's gonna be cool.
I think it's definitely the best concept. Scare zone wise, the location, of course, makes me worrisome. But in terms of just like when I think of like 80s stuff too, I think of like the 8-bit like video games and stuff. And like when you watch the new season of Stranger Things, like I always thought the two coolest areas is the mall and like the arcade, like so I think, and one of the things too is that this year there's not a zone that seems to mention that it's going to have like any of the IPs that are as a house, like in the street. Like there's always that one, like even the Harvest last year had the prop from like Stranger Things and Halloween. Like this is what you're going to see at the event tonight. I do think it would be a really cool idea if instead of like that, they had kind of like big arcade cabinet looking things with like one for Stranger Things and one for
that would be cool
Ghostbusters, and maybe have like like a 8-bit looking thing on the screen for it and stuff like that. Like that'd be pretty badass, and I think it would work itself into the theme without being overly like, hey, look at me,
Yeah.
And looking at it, I'm looking at the list of things this year. It's really, considering it's Return of the 80s or Revenge of the 80s, this is really only the one of 3 things that's 80s themed, right? This, Killer Clowns, and Ghostbusters, that really kind of falls into that 80s theme. So,
well, I mean, you got Stranger Things, which takes place.
Stranger Things. Okay.
And then I would even go as far as, and I know it's definitely a stretch, but I can definitely see, where the premise of the movie Us is literally based on something that takes place in the 80s.
Fair point. Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah. All right. So I take it back. But
more spoilers.
Yeah, but in arcade, visually it sounds like it's going to be fantastic. So
yeah.
The next one I'm less excited about though, Vanity Ball.
Yeah, sounds like trash.
It can die in a fire.
They did a zone kind of like that ish. They had the 7 Deadly Sins scare zone with HHN29, I think, and that was all like stages with like deformed looking women, and so I'm wondering if this is going to kind of be something similar to that.
The coolest thing about that zone was that as the night progressed, so did the state of the characters in it.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember that? So like when the night started, like they had like greed and gluttony and all the other 7 deadly sins, and as the night went on, their costumes and their makeup kind of got crazier. And the song that would play the entire zone was The Beautiful People. So like at the start of the night, it was that slow, like kind of like eerie, creepy version of it. And by the end of the night, it was the Marilyn Manson version that was just like rocking through the speakers. It was such a cool concept, and it was a really good zone.
Yeah, it was. And I got to say, 21 is probably one of my favorite Horror Nights years ever to begin with.
I agree.
So I mean, this one I'm less excited about, but it's probably just because I've seen it sounds like something they've done before. But it's from what I read something online that said it doesn't sound like it's going to be a photo op zone, which is something different.
In response to my video saying maybe this is the selfie zone.
I'm afraid it's going to remind me of like my junior high prom date.
I'm afraid it's going to remind me of your junior prom date.
So, Kyle, any thoughts on this one?
No, it's a wait and see. Like, I don't know. What do I know? What do I just work here. I think it's like the, either the first or second biggest zones, between this and the New York zone. And, they're usually they're the most elaborate, and they're the ones that have the most characters and interactions. So,
I got to say, last year, the Chucky zone, because usually I don't like the zones that are in this street because they feel that street is so wide. Whenever they do something, it doesn't feel like there's enough. I feel like the Chucky zone had enough going on that I didn't feel like it was sparse. But in general, I always feel like that scare zone is pretty sparse with stuff. Just because, not because there's not a lot of stuff, but because that street is so big. So, we'll see how this one goes.
Will this one have pole dancers in it?
Oh, if we're lucky. It's a ball, of course.
I'm not going through there if there's pole dancers.
You'll just stop there. You won't go through.
Dollar bill, yo.
And
all right,
I'm super excited about the next one. I may be the only one, but I'm super excited for it. The Vikings.
Oh God,
I'm psyched for Vikings Undead.
It's Adrian Peterson's zone.
They're gonna be chasing you with a switch.
Oh my God.
They are selling HHN branded Vikings jerseys.
It's gonna be like Adrian Peterson, Dante Culpepper, Randy.
Oh God, Dante Culpepper, he went to the UCF. I believe
it's gonna be like all those old
still.
Viking things. Do you remember? You know what's gonna be on it? Do you guys remember the Viking sex boat? That's gonna be on there too.
So yeah, I remember that.
Yep.
Vikings, they're undead. It's funny because I said, I made a reference that the only image that I have of Vikings now would be the really horrible tag team in WWE, and somebody immediately commented, it was like, they're not horrible.
Oh, they're garbage. Stop.
What could they do? I guess they'll have skull heads or something because they're undead.
No, I'm sure they'll just be Vikings with zombie paint on. I'm just glad it's something different because they always do the same type of stuff in that zone.
I think it could be a sleeper because the zone is awesome. That area for a scare zone is great because it's so dark and kind of cramped and close. I think it could be a sleeper. I think that don't give up hope on that one yet.
I don't know how dark it can get for at least 3 hours or three spots consecutively through the night because they got to do that water show.
Yeah, and I'm upset too that I would imagine we're not going to have the pumpkins in the trees like we normally would. You know, so it's gonna be a different feel to that area for sure.
What the fuck? The Vikings didn't have pumpkins?
I doubt they have pumpkins, carved up in trees and things.
Oh boy.
I think the thing. So I would imagine that because of the light show or the water show, that this zone is going to really take up more real estate in that area in front of Mel's, like how the one last year did as well.
The giant church and stuff. Yeah, because
to talk it, I've heard that where that church is, there might be some kind of stage for some kind of show involved with the zone as well. And especially I think the Hollywood zone isn't going to be as grand as it's been in years past. So it might give them more room to play in that area in front of Mel's and horror makeup show and stuff like that.
That'd be cool. I'm anxious to see how everything looks. It's kind of like Christmas morning, unwrapping presents and seeing what's all about.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on this year. Hurricane pending. I should be there opening weekend.
I did opening weekend last year for the first time, and man, I don't ever see doing it again.
It doesn't get any better crowd-wise.
Yeah, it's rough. It was rough. It definitely was rough.
Well, I don't know if there's a solution to it, because you see everybody online talking about doing Stay and Scream, and
that brings up a good
Stay and
point.
Scream again. Was a nightmare.
You know what, dude? I'm glad you brought that up because I want to bring up a point real quick about it, and I'll be fast. All right, you can even edit it out because this could just be good. If you look at the houses that are in the back, this year. Okay, now I get that Ghostbusters and Stranger Things are going to be up front. Okay, so those are going to be the houses that Finnegan's releases to. That's where all the freaking people that are that they're going to go congregate. The place to be this year is going to be Springfield and get released back to the Universal Monsters house, the Graveyard Games house, the Nightingales, Depths of, all that stuff's back there in the Thousand Corpses. I think that if you're smart about it this year, do Stay and Scream at Springfield and work your way kind of counterclockwise. I think
you just got to get there early and get a seat like at the bar. 'Cause not a lot of shade.
Yeah.
Well, you know that place that we've gone before, Kyle. That's a pretty good spot down there.
Yeah, the secret spot.
Yeah,
We're not going to tell you.
anyway, just a sideline. I don't know. I just think that's kind of a better way to go instead of getting crammed into all that shit at Finnegan's, because last year was a joke. I stopped going. I didn't go to Stay and Scream after the first night just because it was ridiculous, and I had Express, and I was thinking to myself, why am I putting myself through this nightmare? It's crazy.
It was like Black Friday, dude, when the gates opened and I think it was Drew and Ashley ran one way and we got caught going a different way. It was like you're caught.
Yeah, I sadly got roped into Stranger Things.
We were like caught in the tide taking us out to sea, like, goodbye.
Yeah. I got caught in a line by myself. Like my entire group. I was with like Andy, my little brother, I was with a bunch of people, and they ended up like 40 people ahead of me because I was Mr. Nice Guy and like letting people cut in front. And, so later in the night, I'm just like elbowing motherfuckers left and right,
Poor Paul with all the editing.
It's fine.
Sorry, Paul.
I do think too. I think Stay and Scream is going to be even worse this year because from another thing that I've heard is that there is going to be a new type of ticket that's going to be sold to people this year. If you have a ticket for Halloween Horror Nights, there is going to be some kind of like add-on that you can pay to get into Universal Studios like before the event begins.
Really?
From 1 o'clock or like 2 o'clock on or something like that.
Is this to match the Disney After 12 ticket?
So it's gonna be something like that where there's gonna be more people in the park who are actually staying for the event. So
see, this is why Drew gets paid the big bucks and he's on like 27 podcasts with this hot take.
The only thing that's going to help you this year is Express, and with the amount of people, like myself included, that purchased it this year because it was so crazy last year, I have a feeling that's going to even be a nightmare, but we'll see.
Wow, that's like breaking news.
Paul,
are you just doing opening weekend, or are you doing like the first 2 weekends, or just
opening weekend right now? Yeah. Oh, break. There's your soundboard. Yeah. Right now, playing is just opening weekend. But every year I go on opening weekend, and I'm like, I'd love to go back, and I never do.
Yeah.
So, but I'm definitely right now booked for opening weekend. With it being basically a full 2 months this year, and me having some Southwest credit, it's possible that I'll be back if I enjoy the event enough that I want to come back to it. Or they do something every year. I'm like, maybe they'll do something different for the last weekend. They never do. Yeah. But they did. The last time they did something different for that final weekend was HHN29. They had on the final weekend, they had a scare zone that brought back all the icons leading up to HHN20. And I'm hopeful. That they'll do something again this year leading for HHN30.
Only
not rumors, just totally in my head.
If Disney is selling after 12 tickets, I didn't even hear about that until you just said that, Kyle. I'm looking at that now. Can I change my annual pass to an after 12 annual pass? Will it cost less money or something? That's crazy, dude.
Yep. I will go to the last day of Horror Nights. I thought I wasn't able to go because I have a concert to go to the 1st of November, so I'll miss that day.
Hey, it's my birthday.
Oh, yeah. I'll say happy birthday from Sammy Hagar.
I got the Frequent Fear Plus only because of the last night of the event.
It's going to be spectacular. So, we can kind of hit double time here because there's not a lot to talk about, I think, through Howl-O-Scream. But
everything is the same.
Yeah, there is just slight differences. So Howl-O-Scream, Florida's main alternative to it's like Central Florida's alternative to Horror Nights, although there is a new contender this year from Queen Mary. They've brought their show over, Dark Harbor, to which is the old Nickelodeon hotel across town, and it's kind of an awkward place to put a house.
Yeah, like how is that gonna work? Like,
for those that have not been there, because I know there's a lot of hype going online, parking over in that area is, even if you're staying at the hotel, is a freaking nightmare. So I'm cautiously optimistic. Queen Mary puts on a phenomenal haunt in California. What they'll do in Orlando, I think I'm holding judgment until I get some more information. I actually need to reach out to those guys. But they kind of started late, I think, and they took a lot of the people from Horror Nights that weren't cast at Horror Nights to work at their event, and they're still hiring, I think, and their selling point is that they have bars and multiple haunts, and it's a high dollar production, so it's similar glossy wise to like a Horror Nights, and what they may have best going for it is that they actually have I believe the MVP from Horror Nights the last few years working at Dark Harbor. So
no kidding.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that I follow that were scare actors that didn't make the cut this year for whatever reason are going to be working that event.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll be a cool event. I mean, like I said, like you said, the California one, I've never been to it, but sounds awesome. And now I will say, for all those people who aren't a fan of the drinking that goes on at Horror Nights, like the Dark Harbor stuff, like they legit have like more bars than houses. Like they emphasize, and some in California they're like, we even have a secret house that is a bar. Yeah, like they had a whole like scavenger hunt, and the prize was a bar. Like they had like a dozen bars at the one in California. So they definitely emphasized the drinking at that event.
Let's see here. So that's Queen Mary. I'm buying tickets right now.
Yeah, it's just, it's an awkward location. I mean, it might be great to stay on site because it's a Holiday Inn now. I don't know. I'm optimistic at what they'll, production wise, what they can do. It just, I'm in my head trying to figure out like where they're going to put stuff, because they said it was like in the parking lot for the Holiday Inn to begin with, and it's the parking lot was kind of small to begin with. So just curious.
I didn't even know that was going on.
Yeah.
Cool.
Probably a lot of people don't know. So now maybe, the 12 people that will listen to this will know.
No, plenty. But maybe we'll talk more about it in a future episode, because I'm sure at least you Florida peeps will probably go to it.
Yep. But right now, existing main competition, Howl-O-Scream came back out. For a while, I was wondering if Howl-O-Scream was even going to exist this year, because there's construction happening in the park, and they had Tigris go up, and places are impacted. Too. Yeah, but they're back, and it's not a free event in Tampa again, which was another rumor. That they were going to go free like they do in Williamsburg. So it's a pay per event. One new house. There's 6 houses altogether. The one new house is called the Residence. And it's kind of like what pristine looking house on the inside, and what horrors can happen on the and pristine on the outside, and what horrors happen on the inside. The other houses that are back. Deathwater Bayou again, and they all have like a little twist to it, and I'm not sure how much of a twist it'll be when you actually get to the event, but
if you'll notice it even.
Yeah. Insomnia is back. Insomnia was a really fun house last year. The sheep was the...
It's eating me.
Yeah. Motel Hell is back again.
Love it.
This time it's called Motel Hell Infestation, so I guess it's Motel Hell plus bugs. Black Spot, Bloodshed.
Garbage.
If you guys have ever listened to me before, I really hate Black Spot.
Except for the little thing in the queue in the cage.
Yeah, that's true, because it sounds like it's saying something else.
Right.
the world's most narrow queue to get in there to begin with.
Yeah, me and Kyle's fat ass trying to squeeze through that queue.
Yeah, we have to walk through it sideways.
Yeah, it wasn't fun, but that thing in the cage made it kind of fun.
Simon Slaughterhouse is back also, so curious that they brought back Simon's. That house last year was a really, I think it's kind of like Us for Horror Nights, where it's a hit and miss depending on who you talk to. I know Paul really liked it when we went.
I did. I liked it. It was a good gore house.
It had smells and everything factored into it. Very, very nauseating smells. But they also brought back that scare zone that leads into it, the meat market. So I think packaged together was a really fun area. You know, if you went through the whole meat market area into Simon's, that was fun. Although, you know, when we went last year, admittedly, I went twice. So the second time that I went was with Paul. You know, I went with Drew and Tom the first time. The second time, guys, like, it was so packed at the Howl-O-Scream. You want to talk about, like, you know, HHN being packed? Like, they had to take all the scare actors out of that zone leading into the house because
you're kidding me.
You couldn't walk in the area. It was like going to like a Metallica general admission concert.
It was. I mean, it was uncomfortably packed.
Oh.
So, there are some new scare zones this year. First Fear, and I should mention that Howl-O-Scream this year in Tampa is 20 years of Fear, so it's the 20th anniversary, and it runs September 20th through November 2nd. I know I didn't say that about Horror Nights, runs from September 6th through November 2nd, so there's a 2-week gap in between Horror Nights opening and Howl-O-Scream. I think it's a missed opportunity to not open a week earlier, but there's other companies that are taking advantage of that, like Screamageddon. But the First Fear scare zone is supposed to be like the icons or the scares of years past. Little Nightmares, I think it's going to probably be like a classic Halloween zone, paper mache masks. Carp Noctum, that's a Romanian cemetery. I'm not sure if I'm selling this all well because you guys are kind of dead too. Yep, that's exactly the response I thought. So, and then the others are returning scare zones. Camp DOA, Hell on Wheels, Dia de los Muertos, Maniac Midway, Deadly Toys, and Meat Market, like I said before. The other scare zones, if you've been to Howl-O-Scream before, you know what I'm talking about here. Like, you don't know a lot of times that you're actually walking into a scare zone.
You don't, but they're actually pretty good.
Yeah, and then there's
Bushman.
Yeah,
he is everywhere.
So, Howl-O-Scream is always consistently a good alternative to Horror Nights. It's cheaper. It's just people perceive Tampa like it's another country. You know, when you come to Orlando, and if you're actually staying at Disney or Universal area, it's an hour or less to get down there. The show Fiends is back again this year. It's a love it or hate it type thing.
Definite hate it.
Terrible. You know, but they do have
the nurses. Yeah. Yep. Nurses are part of the show.
You know what's ignorant? One of the main things I remember about Howl-O-Scream is they had 24-ounce Coronas for like $7. I swear to God, that's like the first thing that popped in my head when you said Howl-O-Scream. I'm like, oh yeah, they had those cheap Coronas.
And you know what? I didn't look at the shows this year, like the Fright Feast and stuff, because quite honestly, it just hasn't popped to my radar yet. But I don't know like what they're doing for the dinner show. It doesn't actually say.
I'd probably skip it and just get Express.
Yeah, because when they used to do like the Fiends preview for the dinner show, I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Because then you didn't have to wait in line for Fiends after the fact. But that's Howl-O-Scream. Like I said, it's starting September 20th. It usually Horror Nights started on the 13th, so that was, the week after that Howl-O-Scream would be taking, their roots. But Screamageddon this year is starting September 13th, so it's filling that gap. So, if everybody that's buying Frequent Fear Plus for Halloween Horror Nights, I've sold Screamageddon up and down, and I think like even a lot of the cast of Horror Nights last year ended up going based off of promoting it a lot. So I love it. I can't tell you how much I love Screamageddon. It is not glossy. It's not slick. It's not even Howl-O-Scream slick. It's in a field in the middle of freaking nowhere.
Love it.
And if you drive in the dark to get there, you're taking your life in your hands. But it's a different experience. Like there's 6 attractions. It's actually 5 that are included in your pass, and 1 is an upcharge, which is the zombie paintball. There's 2 or 3 of the attractions. I think it's 3 that you could wear a glow necklace where they could touch you. And when I mean touch, like they put Mary in a body bag, they punch me in the kidneys, hit me up against the wall. It doesn't sound like fun, but it's those fun punches.
Dude, it sounds awesome. I think that's a great alternative. I think it'd be a blast.
Yeah, and they're advertising this year that they've added a beer garden.
Yeah, I saw that too. I'm in.
So that's the Central Florida stuff, and I skipped over the Virginia version of Busch Gardens Howl-O-Scream, and Paul's the man with the plan. Paul's like a celebrity up there. He's got like 8-year-old kids doing. You know what, Paul? Before you go to the video, Paul is it when it comes to like Busch Gardens, Williamsburg media. Like he's there all the time. He's faithful. It's not a knock, but it is hilarious because he tried doing a video, like a POV, and there's a guy next to him on the ride that's just like blah 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 blah, and you could see like Paul's just wanted to say like, dude, do you not see what we're doing here? We're recording this thing. Like, shut up.
Oh no, the worst was that guy. Like they did a POV, like the new roller coaster. They were pointing the camera at me on the new roller coaster, and the dude put his arms up in the air, but he didn't put them straight up in the air. He put them like up and out. So the entire video, his hand is in front of my face. And I'm like, this is the worst. But I do love Busch Gardens Williamsburg. It's about 45 minutes away from me. It's my local park. Unlike Tampa Howl-O-Scream, it is included in your annual pass or your day pass. So you can go to Busch Gardens during the day, and you don't have to pay an upcharge for the houses or anything. You just kind of like, at 6 o'clock, they flip open the houses and you walk in. And in fact, most of the shows actually operate all day long. So you can actually like go to the shows during the day and do the houses and zones at night. So it's hard to complain given that it's included, but we're actually getting less this year than we did last year. So the Fiends show, that's usually that you guys have down in Tampa, they also have a version in Williamsburg, but it doesn't change every year like yours does. Well, this year, for the first time in a long time, there's no Fiends. They've actually phased out the Fiends show. They're going to have 2 shows, Monster Stomp Monster Stomp on Ripper Row, and another one that's in the Fest House. That's like a song and dance show that you can. It's like just a giant room where you can get food and stuff. It's called Night Beats. They actually, I shouldn't say that. There is like a new street show called Jack is Back, but that's kind of like Jack is their mascot. He's, he was actually their mascot way back when. He's like a pumpkin head guy, and he kind of is out in the street just kind of like heckling and talking to people, and there's music and dancers. Yeah, trash talking. But other than that, all the scare zones from last year returning: Axe Alley, Fool's Court, Garden of the Souls, Ripper Row, Sideshow Square, and Vampire Point. What I find interesting is that Fool's Court is returning, because the first time I went to Howl-O-Scream last year, Fool's Court was like the fools of the ancient, not ancient, but like the royal fools, like mimes and stuff like that. And the second time I went, it was clowns with chainsaws, and I'm like, that doesn't really fit the theme. So I don't know. I guess we'll see what it's going to be this year. And from last year, all the houses are returning except Cornered. Their cornfield themed haunted house is not returning this year. So we actually have one less house. And now Vault, last year, there was a house called Vault 20, which was their 20th anniversary house. So ours, like I said, is in its 21st year. We're just a year older than you guys. And it was supposedly a 1-year only house, Vault 20. Well, this year, Vault is coming back, but instead of being called Vault 20, it's called The Vault Overtaken. And so Dr. Freakenstein and the Naughty Nurses from the Freak Show are actually going to be part of the house.
What? In the house?
In the house.
Oh my goodness.
And it will also feature like iconic characters from previous houses.
Their little pink panties.
So you know, I love going. Like I said, it's I already have the annual pass, so it's just included. And you know, you're not going to get anything that's. You're not going to get a giant Stay Puft Marshmallow Man or, you know, some of the iconic stuff that you get at Horror Nights, but it is the best we have in the area. And, you know, it's well organized, and I genuinely like some of the houses that they have returning, so should be good.
Like Lumberhack,
where the guy pops. So anyone who's seen my YouTube channel knows I start all my videos by saying peeps.
Peeps.
In Lumberhack, there was a scare actor who like burst out of a porta potty. So porta potty was part of the house. Burst out of a porta potty and said, "Does anyone want any chocolate peeps?"
Oh my Lord!
Cracked me up.
He was referring to doo doo, dude.
Doo doo.
They have an escape room there too, right?
Oh yeah. So they actually have escape rooms every year. They do have a new escape room this year. Jack's Twisted Terror, or maybe they're both new. Escape rooms. Jack's Twisted Terror and Grave Obsession. They are upcharge things, but I feel like it's a 30-minute experience. It may be 15 minutes. I don't remember the exact time. But I've done it twice, and they're pretty well themed. You know, it's not just an escape room. There's a scare actor in there with you, at least one. Some of them have animatronics. They're really well themed, and so like the Jack one is a cool opportunity to actually interact with the icon of the event that you can't. I mean, this year he actually has his show, but generally you can't directly interact with him. Kind of like, you know, Jack at Halloween Horror Nights. You know, you can't really just like walk up and take a picture with the guy.
That sounds fun though, dude. I mean, my local theme park, the Six Flags, right down the street from my house, is just such shit. It's terrible.
But you know what? You got some really good haunts over there. So
yeah, we got the Darkness and
that's right.
Darkness and Lamp
Brewery. Yeah, we got some good stuff.
Lamp was terrifying, dude. So I mean, I legitimately enjoyed that house. As far as scariness, that was a scary house.
It is. They do a great job. Darkness and Creepy World and Lamp. They do.
Yeah, we don't have any big ones. You know, we've got a number of mom and pops that have been doing it for a long time. But as far as, you know, big events, Howl-O-Scream's it, and value for what you get. I mean, if you're from Virginia, if you're in Hampton Roads, pretty much everyone you know has a frickin' Busch Gardens annual pass. So, you know, and it's just included, so you can just go, and it's cool.
All right. So, couple last things about Florida. Warehouse 31 not doing a haunt this year. We did their haunt last year, both for Halloween and for Christmas, but they lost their space in Jacksonville. They were in like a shopping plaza, and I really enjoyed Warehouse 31. They had one of their haunts for Halloween had a frogman in it that I thought he was like the MVP of last year. But Warehouse 31 not doing their thing this year. 13th Floor is doing their thing, and if you guys have seen any of our Cheap Seats videos on 13th Floor, we've been there. Geez, I can't remember. I know we were there Halloween, Christmas, and then I want to say we were just there recently for another event. But if you buy, they have a deal going on now for tickets that you could buy a ticket and go any night of the event, and it's on sale for like a percentage off of what the price normally is. Last haunt that I know that I'm planning at least for September for myself to go back and hit again is probably the greatest haunt that I've been to so far, and that's Netherworld up in Stone Mountain, Georgia. And for people that live in Orlando and say like, oh my God, like 6 hours or 7 hours drive is ridiculous, you haven't been to Netherworld. It is amazing. They have two new properties that they're doing this year, Night of the Gorgon and Cold Blooded. And you can check out their website for full descriptions. But they have everything from tons of scare actors to people flying, people jumping, the animatronics. it's a multi-million-dollar house, and if when you're used to going to like mom and pop places for other scares, and you have that in your head that's what you're going to go see, that's totally not it. I mean, this is like blowing like HHN out of the water as far as spend wise for some of the stuff that they got going on. So they've got laser tag there too that we did the last time that we were up there, and they have escape rooms also. I haven't not done the escape rooms yet. I think Paul and I talked about this offline before, but they generally, you need like a group of people, and I've either gone there solo or the last time with like Mary and Jess, and it's not enough people to do the room. So
Right.
yeah, nobody wants to be my friend. But it's very cool stuff. And Netherworld is opening on the 27th, and they're running through November 3rd. So
When are you going up there? Do you got a plan on that yet?
That first weekend. So I'll be missing Horror Nights that Friday. The good thing about buying, by the way, tie this all back to Horror Nights again, but if you do Frequent Fear or Frequent Fear Plus, they don't include Saturdays. So Saturdays for us has generally been the day to be able to go to other events, in other areas. So I would anticipate that for Netherworld, we'll be going up there that Friday and staying through the weekend, probably doing Six Flags. I also did not have the greatest experience at that Six Flags in Georgia, like you said, Tom, as far as haunts go, but it's free. So,
right. It's just so bad.
It's so bad.
And I mean, I've been going since I was a kid. Like every year I go, and it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. There's like hardly anybody even in the houses or scare zones anymore. It's sad.
Yeah. Last year was hilarious. I asked somebody outside, like, can I film in here? And they're like, yeah, go ahead. You go inside, and like, the first room I go in, like somebody literally got in my face and screamed like, yeah, put that away. So I was like, oh my God. Talk about a mixed message. Whatever. Any event, we've talked for a long time.
We have.
I was a lot pent up.
Paul is an hour into his nightly sleep right now.
I know, right? I've been
Paul's
asleep.
up,
You don't
though.
even realize.
I will be. I'll be talking to Paul tomorrow morning, and he'll be dead on his feet.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness.
This is what happens when you get old. You don't like walking back to the Universal Monsters house, and you go to bed at 10 o'clock.
That's it.
Man, I tell you, I've been up 4 a.m. Oh boy.
Breaking news, it's bedtime.
Gotta go have a warm glass of milk and call it a night.
So before we wrap up, just want everyone to know that you can reach out to us
Sorry.
on Twitter at Four Hauntsmen. That's four spelled out, FOUR, just in case you forgot. Four Hauntsmen on Twitter. And let us know what you thought of this week's episode. And if you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment down below. And make sure you subscribe. More coming. Maybe.
In January.
Our review.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Well, everybody, thank you for listening. This has been all your pleasure.
Bye, everyone.
See ya.
See ya.
Peace, y'all.